Victor Villa is a retired special ICE agent, and he joins us tonight. Mr. Villa, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you, Tucker, for having me on.
So what do you make of this? The technological wall, the vanity project. You've spent your life policing our borders. Do we need a physical wall, an actual wall?
Well, Tucker, I have to say this is personal. I've worked in Mexico. I've worked on the border. I'm born and raised there. I was attacked, and Jaime Zapata lost his life, Agent Zapata, right next to me while we were on assignment in Mexico. So I know that this is real, and the crisis is real. And the border wall is very much needed. This is the physical barrier that's going to help our border agents down there, help them just like the other technology would help them. The drones, the sensors, all the other technology that comes along the border wall is just another tool that's going to help them do that, and it's much needed so they could then focus on those areas where that traffic is going to be infiltrated through.
So in the shooting that you referred to, you were hit 3 times. You were shot 3 times by a member of a Mexican drug cartel. How do you, as someone who went through that, what's your response when you hear members of Congress, congressional leaders say that there's no crisis at all and that we're imagining it, and in fact it's racist to say there's a crisis at the border? How do you respond to that?
Yeah, the crisis is real. I've lived it. I've worked it. Especially the racist comments is just unreal. Mexico now is looking at starting to control their own southern border by sending their own federal troops down to the Guatemala and Belize border, because now they're feeling the impact of these immigrants coming through their country. And so are they going to be racist as well? And so it's just absurd to think that it makes it a racist statement because you want, or makes you a racist because you want a wall. But let me tell you what's really immoral. What's immoral is the exploitation of our asylum laws. Yeah. Congress needs to shut down and redo those asylum laws and legislation. I'll give you an example, Tucker. If an adult person comes into the country with a minor child and presents themselves to the Border Patrol and turns himself in seeking asylum, if that adult person has a criminal history, and it's known to have a criminal history, Border Patrol is going to have to still admit that person in with the child. Even though that person is now inadmissible to come into this country, we'll have to allow him to come in and with the child to seek wait for their asylum hearing 2 to 3 years from now, and we'll never hear from that person. And maybe that adult person is or not the parent of that child, and we'll never know what happens to that child as well. So there's a real crisis at the border happening on right now.
Have you spoken to the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, or to Democratic leaders as they've formulated their position in this debate over the border wall? Has anyone talked to you?
No, but I would love to. There is a major disconnect between Washington and Congress and what's going down in real life in the border. It would be so effective to have them just at least go down there, and not just for the photo op or just for for a 10-minute walk where there's actual wall that actually works, thanks to Jim Acosta, but to actually learn what the real crisis is down there. Not today, Tucker. This has been going on for decades. It's just now the influx. And I talk to Border Patrol agents, and they tell me they want this response to go forward with the wall. They're so afraid that if this doesn't go through, they can't imagine the influx of illegal immigrants trying to come through, because they're going to be sending the wrong message.
Yeah. I can't imagine how you feel. I mean, if I was shot 3 times by a drug cartel and watched my partner murdered, and then someone called me a racist because I wanted a wall, I don't know how you remain so calm, but I'm certainly impressed that you do. Mr. Villa, thank you very much for joining us and for what you had to say.
Thank you, Tucker, for having me.
Thanks. Well, as you've deduced by